Okay, but then we have Alexis Tsipras coming out today saying we're pretty close to a deal. Negotiations are in the final stage. They submitted concrete proposals to creditors. Really, Mike? I mean, what is the last day they run out of money and he's up against a wall?
It's what Tsipras said last week. It's what Yanis Varoufakis said last week and the week before and the week before that. They keep talking about coming close to a deal, but the Europeans aren't buying into anything that they have told them so far. You remember that they do have the $1.6 billion due to the EU and to the IMF in June, but before that they have to come up with about $1.7 billion to pay everybody who's on the Greek government payroll. So they have some real cash shortages coming up. But the problem that's come out over the last couple of days is they also have the banking system on the verge of collapse because the banks, so much money's come out of the banks that they don't have the cash to pay the depositors or to buy the bonds that the government is selling. They've been going to the ECB, to the Greek National Bank, to get cash, but they're running out of collateral to post. And if they run out of, they maybe have 8 weeks worth left. If the ECB should change the collateral rules, that could shrink to 4 weeks. We could have a banking system problem before they even have to make these payments.
Well, okay, yeah, Lisa, is the bond market reflecting any of what Mike just said?
A little. A smidgen.
You're because they've said it before.
Yeah, exactly. We're just talking about this, right? If someone was warning that there was a storm coming and that thing happens and you go underground and they keep warning, you don't go underground anymore. They are responding, though. They are responding, particularly in Portugal and in Spanish and Italian yields. You are seeing some sell-off there. So there is some kind of response, but it's pretty muted if you think about some kind of catastrophic, meltdown of the Greek banking system. I mean, people are, though, really wary of the fact that so much has to do with, whether the ECB does change their collateral requirements, and so much hinges.
Basically, if they change their collateral requirements, they wind up getting less of that emergency liquidity assistance,
on the bonds
and which squeezes them even more, so they might not have that 8 weeks, they might not have the 4 weeks. That's really the issue.
It could be.
Tsipras, in his note that came out over the weekend that you were talking about, this letter that he wrote to Christine Lagarde, said, we don't have the money to make our IMF payment. They did find it by juggling around some accounts, but he said, unless we can sell more treasury bills, more 2-year notes, and the only buyers are the banks, and the banks don't have the money to buy it. So if there's more of a haircut, they can't keep the government afloat. They can't pay their civil service salaries, let alone their bills.
Well, here's the question. Does a sovereign default of any kind from Greece mean that the country has to leave the monetary union?
No.
It would be the worst case scenario, though, I think, if they were to default and not leave the monetary union.
Worst case, right, okay.
That's what some people are saying, some analysts, because basically they're saying, look, let's say they do default, right? How do they raise revenue? How do they get that money to restructure and start their economy over again when they don't have a weakening currency to give them a competitive advantage, right? I mean, that's sort of the idea, is that if they do exit the euro, they'll have, a Greek
that will be even worse than defaulting, but staying.
Well, you have a Eurozone ministers meeting, the leaders meeting coming up on Friday in Riga, Latvia. And there's some talk that if the Greeks don't make a move before then, they might get presented with a take it or leave it offer the way Cyprus did. We'll impose capital controls on your banks. You will make these changes to your policies, or we will let you go.
Okay, but we see capital controls. I mean, what happens to the markets? And that's like bananas. That's going to be complete chaos.
I have to read this quote. The market is going to church, praying that the issue with Greece will go away. Normally not the best strategy, but for now it seems to be working. So this is sort of what people are just basically saying. It's going to be okay. We'll be just fine. But yes, if it doesn't happen the way that people are expecting it, could the markets go bananas?
Capital controls is a scary phrase. Guys.